We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, joined as always by Josh Bowe. We are editors over at MavsMoneyball.com. We are joining you at 9:06 on March 9th. It's a Saturday night. The Mavericks played the Detroit Pistons and won by many points in a game that was weird in the first half, at least no defense, and in the second half, the Mavericks ran away with it. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad we're not talking about a loss, because I think if they lost this game, that might have been the end of Mavericks fandom, and people would have been getting wild on the internet. So it's always good to see them take care of business against a team that they should beat.
Yeah, so I had to miss the first half because my wife and son are at the rodeo in Arlington, and I had to put the baby down and didn't realize what time the game started. What happened in that first half? Why was the game so close?
The Mavericks started sloppy. Lucas started sloppy. He had 4 turnovers in the first quarter.
Wow.
And in the first half, the Mavericks shot, I think, just over 54%. But the Pistons out-rebounded the Mavericks 29-19. It's really hard. Like, it must be really hard to lose the rebounding battle in a half where you shoot 55% from the floor, because there's not a lot of misses for the other team to grab. So they were getting offensive. So it was turnovers and offensive rebounds. The Pistons did, I think they were 43% shooting for the first half. They made some threes, but it was all the Maverick. It was turnovers. It was the inability to grab a defensive rebound. Pistons got extra possessions that they shouldn't have.
They had 20 offensive rebounds? Jesus Christ.
So, yeah. So that was it. I mean, if the Mavericks rebound at a normal rate, I mean, this is like a 40-point laugher from the beginning. So, and if Luka kind of took the first quarter a little bit more seriously, but he certainly took the second, third, and fourth quarters much more seriously. So, So that's really it. It was kind of a fool's gold first half in terms of you looked at it, and I'm sure some people got really mad that the Mavericks were not up by more against this crappy Pistons team. And that's fair, but it was nothing that happened in the first half made it seem like they were in trouble. It was, hey, just tighten some things up, get the turnovers under control. Detroit's not playing well offensively. They're not going to outscore you. So just, get your S together, so to speak.
Sure.
And they did. And it was fine from there.
Yeah, I watched the second half. They seemed to have a really good handle on Cade Cunningham. Yep. He ended up with 33 points, but I know he scored 22 in the first half, and he really didn't score a meaningful basket until the game was out of reach for the Pistons. So whatever they did differently, and I'm not going to act like I watched that again. I was kind of all over the place with baby stuff, but it really looked like the Mavericks got a handle on this game pretty early in the second half. And it was nice to see. So this game was kind of a get right game for a number of guys. It felt like in some respects, you don't really call Daniel Gafford continuing to score every basket or every bucket that's thrown his way like a get right game, but he had he had a pretty nice performance. He's up to 19 straight made field goals, which is just, I mean,
is it 19 or 18? Because 19, I think, is the Mavericks record.
It is. It's 19 because they made a point of talking about how it's the franchise record. Yep. And I was just really cracking up at the fact, there's all this, like, there's just such continued talk from people who don't really like Luka's game about how it must be hard to play with Luka. Like, dummy McDumbass and probably future general manager Chandler Parsons had some stupid ass quote about how it can be, how he guesses it's frustrating to play with Luka sometimes. But you know what? If you are particularly limited in an offensive way, at least at the NBA level, playing with Luka probably has to be amazing for some guys. I'm sorry. It's
tell Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleba's bank accounts,
right?
Playing with Luka sucks,
right? I just, the continued disdain from certain people about how he plays is so annoying. Like,
there is a conversation to be had about it, but it just gets too far on either end of the spectrum that it's hard to even make a.
That's right.
Discussion.
I mean, everybody thinks my friend Matt Moore like absolutely hates the Mavericks, but I was just chatting with him because I asked him the question. I said, you live in this MVP data all the time looking at player stuff. Scoring has gone down in the NBA, like on a team basis over the last basically since the midway point.
Since All-Star break, right? Yeah, or even before that.
I think it's almost before that, to the point to where former NBA writer Ethan Sherwood-Strauss basically put out an article today implicating that they're not implying, like, there's a lot of off the records GM saying that they think the NBA has implemented rule changes in season, which has changed how the thing's going on. Yet, I'm getting off a little bit of a tangent here, but Luka's scoring has gone up.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? And so I just asked him, I was like, what the heck is going on? And he goes, Luka's getting the line less, but scoring better from the field. He's scoring more efficiently in every element of the game. So it's like, I sit there and you watch people that hate on Luka, and I'm just like, look, if you don't like Luka because you don't like Luka, that's fine. Just say so. But everything else in regards to not liking how he plays makes you the asshole. He's fucking incredible. And when he turns it on, he's unstoppable. It's a matter of, can he focus? And of course he can. Of course he can. So he turned it on in this game, and the Mavericks really seemed to run away with it.
Yeah, it's actually kind of hilarious that during the 5 of 6 losing stretch, which there were some warning signs on offense, I wrote about it.
Sure.
Despite that, he's shooting almost 52% from the floor since the start of February. He's shooting 52% from the floor in the month of March.
I know it's hard to pull
let me look that up. But basically, I mean, like, yeah, there is some stuff going on with the offense and the way, we saw those.
Him as an individual player, it's not a thing. It is and Luka. I think you've said this, so I apologize if I just haven't listened to my own podcast co-host here. But with Luka taking on the load on offense and having to go kind of a little more iso ball with how defenses are covering the Mavericks offense.
Yeah.
As a result, he is tired and worse on defense. It makes sense. If he's taking a bigger load, of course he's going to play worse on defense. Now, I don't really like that excuse. Like, sorry, bro, you're an NBA player. Play better defense. But at least it makes sense. So, anyway, I interrupted you.
He's at 62.4% true shooting, which is a career high by about almost 20 percentage points.
That's approaching Giannis level horse shit. And Giannis just runs at the basket. And I'm not just, but it's like Giannis gets to the basket like it's his life. Luka is also shooting 10 threes a game.
Yeah, he's shooting a career high on threes, like, easily. Like, what is he at now? He's at 38%. Career high was 35 a couple seasons ago. So he's up about 3 percentage points over his career high. His career average is 34, so 4 percentage points up. So, yeah, I mean, his shooting has been unbelievable, and it was unbelievable again in this game. I know he was only 4 of 13 from 3. I think he kind of got tired in the second half and was missing some long ones, but from like the second to the third quarter, he was freaking automatic.
Well, and the rest of the lineup,
triple double. You want to hit that before we go?
Yeah,
NBA record 6 straight.
They kept him in the game for probably 5 minutes more than Kid would have liked. But during that 5 minutes, he got 3 assists and 3 more rebounds, which is just hilarious.
And probably could have had like 2 more assists.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think players got fouled on some really
Tim
nice
Hardaway
passes.
missed, I think, 3 looks that Luka just served to him. Which shout out to Tim Hardaway Sr., who in the same time span has also had a series of dumbass comments about Luka. That's, whatever. It's Tim Hardaway Sr.
right now. Yeah.
The rest of the lineup had this was a much more balanced game from other players on the floor. Yeah, you only get 7 points from PJ Washington, but PJ Washington probably had the teammate play of the game, which we can discuss here in a little bit. Nice little game from Derek Jones Jr., who's back in the starting lineup. Kyrie Irving finished with 21. I mean, he turned it on after being kind of blech, which is it's nice. But the fact that they didn't need a superb Kyrie game is nice. Mm-hmm. Yep. And you mentioned this last game. This is the longest stretch of consecutive games he's had since 2018. 2018 was 6 years ago, people. 6 years is a long time.
2 years before the pandemic.
Yeah. And I don't want to, and I'm not, he's a smaller player. We emphasize that. So we don't mean it disdainfully. It's just, maybe it takes a toll on a guy who plays like him because he gets the cup, he gets knocked down. Like it's a taxing game. And so I'm impressed that he's played this many games in a row. And that
was the thing. That's the thing with him. Like,
well, I mean, we talked about it. Like, I sort of made the opinion that Kyrie needed to play 65 games if the Mavericks were going to have a decent year, and like that's not going to happen. But if he can get to 55, I think the Mavericks are going to be a pretty interesting place. I will say I really think that like an absolutely bonkers Kyrie game is coming.
Yeah, that's fair. I think
he's too skilled and like the kind of shots that he gets. It's just like the pull-up three-point shooting is just I think we're going to get like one of those 21-point quarters from him where it's like magical looking because he's just slicing and dicing like he's like somebody is playing him in a video game. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. Mm-hmm. What else do we have here? So we had I thought the Josh Green coming off the bench, kind of a light game for him, got to the line 5 times. But what did you think? Well, what did you think about kind of the lineup changes tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of following through with the lineup changes from the Heat win. So they're now 2-0 since kind of mixing things up. And of course, the Heat are kind of a weird team and Detroit's really bad. So you don't want to be like, they fixed it, fixed their issues. But I think it makes a little bit more sense. Green still, like even in this game, he played much better than he has previous games. But he still dies on a vine on screens like nobody's business. And at least with Jones, there's kind of an effort to kind of get around the screen and fight through it a little bit more than Green can, even if Green can maybe do a little bit more than Jones can overall. And that's kind of what you need with the starting lineup, right? Like it's cool that Green can make some really awesome passes and maybe he's a better shooter in certain aspects. But when you've got Luka and you've got Kyrie, like you've got so much offense in that starting lineup just from those two guys. And you've got Gafford or Lively as a rim runner, like you really just need those 2 forward spots to be. Can one of them do a little creating if needed, which is PJ Washington can attack closeouts. He didn't have to tonight. And then can they just play some defense, guard ball handlers and get around screens and make things a little bit more difficult. So like if you are playing drop with a center like Gafford, it's just not so killer because you don't have these guards walking into wide open pull-up shots because you've got a player that can get through or around a screen a little bit better. And so I think Jones, he did a much better job. I think that's kind of what helped contribute to Cade's poor second half because Cade was kind of killing them in the pick and roll. That's how he was getting most of his buckets. Had a couple nice step back threes in the first half. So I thought I like the balance. I don't think Jones needs to be the full-time starter. What Exum showed in the Heat game and even a little bit of what he did tonight, even though he had 2 points in 18 minutes. Right. Still another 5-assist game for Exum off the bench. I know that the Mavericks are playing it safe with him because that knee bursitis is not that's something you have to worry, manage about. Like the knee swelling up is not something that gets better and you're like, okay, it's not like an ankle sprain getting healed and you're totally fine to kind of go back to what you were doing. Like that's something that needs to be managed and needs to be cautious with because you don't want that to flare up again. So I understand the Mavericks are being cautious with him, but ideally Exum, their best 5 is Kyrie, Luka, Washington, either Gafford or Lively, and then Exum as that 5th guy. So it's not ideal necessarily. I think that Jones is a starter. Like if everything was perfect and Exum had healthy legs, you would put Exum in that lineup. But I think the way they're able to manage him off the bench and give the, also Exum coming off the bench, I think helps because like before that, they didn't have a backup point guard when he was hurt. Like Jaden Hardy is not a true point guard. Tim Hardaway Jr. is not a point guard. Like Josh Green, even if he's coming off the bench, like he's not a point guard. You can't like necessarily funnel offense through him in that way. So it's nice to have someone can come off the bench when Luka or Kyrie goes off that can still like, dribble and pass and make the right reads and get people where they need to go.
Well, so you look at this minutes distribution tonight, and it's kind of interesting. And so Luka playing 37 minutes sort of skews stuff because he easily could have played 30 and sat out like Kyrie did. But if you consider point guard, shooting guard, small forward, you got 48 minutes spread out between three players. It's 144 minutes. You got Luka eating up on average 36 of those a night. So you start and probably Kyrie averaging 36 as well. So you take off 72 immediately. And so you're trying to figure out 72 more minutes over the rest of the game between Derrick Jones Jr., let's see here, Tim Hardaway, Dante Exum, and Josh Green. And so tonight, Green played the most with 27. The other three guys all played 18-ish minutes. And I think
that happened last game too, right?
And we've been not kind to Kid. I think for good reason because Kid has sucked. I also think it's worth noting that if this is what they're trying to do, and they're getting equitable minutes distribution with the ability to kind of pull the toggle back and forth. I think they've honestly been toggling Tim Hardaway way too much. Him playing, and I got my one friend who's always texting me and DMing me about Hardaway's minutes. I think with the lineup that they have now, and I agree, he keeps texting me this, it's 15 minutes a game for Hardaway. I think that's a good bellwether. I think if you're playing Hardaway more than 20 minutes a game, this team is either doing really well or offense and things that come with it are doing really poorly. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think so. And in March, he's played 5 games. He's here minutes totals for each of those 5, 20, 15, 13, 21, 18, which is a pretty marked, like that's a pretty big downturn from what he was doing the previous like 3 or 4 months.
And you got and he's playing as many as 30. And when this team was lacking defensive options, I get it. You want to try to outscore teams. It's not. So you play him 15 minutes a game. You pull the trigger, or you pull the hook on him if he misses 3 straight threes. Because played 18 minutes tonight. I'm pretty sure he still got up 12 shots.
Yeah, 13 shots.
That's incredible. That's really, guys. That's hard to do. But
he made them tonight, which was good.
Yeah, you play Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, and you get up that many shots is amazing. Anyway. So it's like I think that's really something I'm going to keep an eye on over the next several weeks where, granted, this is what coaching is. It's toggling. It's figuring out who's working and who isn't. A lot of fans, I think, want to see Exum start and Exum play more minutes, but I think you got to be cautious when it comes to Dante's minutes. I don't think you want to overextend him now, and you would rather be able to push that toggle up to 25, 28 minutes in a playoff game, right?
Yeah, as long as you're keeping, as long as the management doesn't lead to you not making the play, you got to get there first. So you got to make sure you're utilizing what you can to get there. Like you can't just assume that you're going to get there, especially with how the West is right now. And then the play-in is going to be, if the play-in is what I think it is, if the Mavericks are in it, it's going to be a bloodbath to get out of the play-in. If you're not one of the 7-8 teams. So you got to get there, but they won by 20. You don't need to push him if you can get by and win games without him playing huge minutes.
So we're not going to take a break tonight, just because this is going to be a little bit of a shorter show. I got to go do what's called a dream feed for my infant here shortly. Josh wants to get on with his night, but we'll round this out, I think, with touching on the only really sort of emotional moment of the game. There's a weird play in this fourth quarter. Yeah, it's top of the fourth quarter, about 9-minute mark. Daniel Gafford gets fouled by Jalen Duren. Duren gives him a little extra when he's going to the floor, which was just, look, I remember being 20 and being an idiot. I did dumb stuff too. Duren gives Gafford, a little bit of extra sauce, just going to the floor.
Yeah.
Made me mad.
They're getting the shit kicked out of him in the fourth quarter. Like, he's pissed off. It's not a good play, but it's also not like reprehensible,
Yeah, and Duran's one of their good players. Like, he's one of their actual NBA level players that I think will be something in this league the longer he plays. Well, and going to help up Gafford, PJ Washington basically gives Duran a light, like, love tap on the chest. I mean, he doesn't extend too hard. He basically is like, it's like he's trying to get through a crowd at a concert.
Excuse me.
Yeah. He's like, and Duran takes offense to that, proceeds to shove PJ. PJ comes to shove Duran, falls over, and all of a sudden we have a ruckus.
Fracas.
It's great. And it is. Look, I love it when teammates go to bat for one another.
Mm-hmm. And Gafford immediately went up to Washington afterwards and hit him on the chest and, kind of showing his appreciation for it. Yeah, that was cool. I like seeing that. Go ahead.
Teams pull together and stuff like this. It's stupid, but it matters, and our friend of the show, Mavs employee, Bobby Corrala, did the closest thing he's ever done in my time knowing him the other day on a live stream, talking about kind of who's to blame for this current string of fuckery that we've watched from the Mavericks. And he essentially says, and he's correct, okay, we're all mad at Kidd, but he lays this at everyone's feet, Bobby did. And the thing about a little fracas, a little emotional thing like this is that it reminds you that this game, while it is these guys' job, it is also incredibly emotional. And over an 82-game season, things get taxing and things get boring and things get gross. The Mavericks have had some gross spots. If you go and look at their win-loss schedule, they really have, like 3 or 4 streaks where it's like, what is this team?
Their season has been kind of a roller coaster.
Yes, it's been real bad to where, I've had some people tell me that they could be a play-in team. They could be a lottery team. If it just, you never know what Mavericks team you're going to get over a 2-week span. And I say all this to bring back home the point that I think a little reminder, a little jolt of energy at the right time can go a long way. I really couldn't stand the Mavericks 15th man during the 2021-22. Who's our podcast guy? The zero turnover.
Mr. Theo Pinson.
Mr. Theo Pinson. I really couldn't stand Theo Pinson, okay? But what Theo brought to that team was needed. It was needed emotion. It was hyping up bullshit stakes. Because sometimes you gotta, like, this is what Michael Jordan was amazing at. He would go into games and find something to be pissed about. Okay. And you just got to over this many games. Otherwise it becomes boring. And it's like, maybe this little 2-game run, if they are able to beat the Bulls, you're three wins, maybe this will be enough to kind of get them going down the stretch to where they could pull out of that tailspin that they had. I don't know. I'm probably reaching, but it's something I was thinking about when I was watching it, because I really liked to see that sort of thing. These guys are all teammates. They spend a lot of time together. I'm sure they get on each other's nerves just like coworkers do. But I really, that felt like something that I'm going to remember in the next couple of games.
No, I don't think you're overreaching to it. And I mean, good Lord, it's the Pistons. They have 10 wins. It's hard to find something to talk about that feels meaningful and impactful. I liked it too for all the reasons you said. Like, those are all great reasons. Like, you love to see camaraderie building, especially from 2 guys that have been playing together for like 3 weeks. That's also really nice to see. And then another thing is, it's just good to see a teammate do that, because to be honest, in the Luka era, we haven't seen a lot of that. Like, Dorian Finney-Smith was kind of that role occasionally, but like, remember the first playoff series against the Clippers, the game 1 that KP got ejected because Luka got a cheap shotted and basically no one did anything about it. And KP was the one who kind of got involved, and he ended up getting attacked to get thrown out. I remember watching that, like, why, it's great that KP's doing that, but good Lord, can someone else on this roster like stick up for Luka?
I remember that. That was a big deal. We're all really annoyed. It's like, why is KP the one that has to go do this?
Who already has the technical, someone should have gotten in front of him and taken the bullet for him. And, it's just good to see this. You want to see guys respond. Like, Barron pushed him, and Washington, no hesitation, was like, no way. Like it's good. Like you said, it's a good reminder that this is more than a job. You know, it's competition. Like we did not play high level basketball, but like when we played, like I'm a competitive person. I don't care what I'm doing. You know, I don't like losing. Like I don't care if I'm playing basketball in high school or pick up during college, or if I'm playing freaking Halo online. Like I'm Herm Edwards. I play to win the game. Like I don't want to lose. Like it pisses me off when I lose at anything. So, you know, you can't get to the level that these guys get if they're not also somewhat, you know, if they're similarly wired. You're just not going to be there. Like to be one of the best 400 players on planet Earth, basically, in the game of basketball, which is the only way you can get to the NBA for the most part. Like you have to be a little bit of a psycho, or you have to have a competitive edge. So, you know, it's always, like you said, 82 games. It's so long. Sometimes you forget. So it's always nice to see that little reminder. Like I like it. I like more scrappiness.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Then, this is a good important note from Daniel in the chat. He says the next 2 games are going to be on WFAA. That is, you know, for those of you, depending on your cable situation, your local situation, this is good to know. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that note.
Everyone get a TV antenna.
Yes.
Get some free Mavericks basketball.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Okay, so the Mavericks play the Bulls when? Not tomorrow.
Monday.
Okay, so we get a day off.
Yep.
Let's go look at the Mavericks schedule real quick. Just
then a trio from hell, like right after that Chicago game.
That's okay. That's okay.
No, it's okay.
Let's take a look here. Then they go Warriors, Thunder, Nuggets. That'll be real fun.
Yeah.
No, it's serious. You know, if they're able to pull off 2 out of 3 on that, just on happenstance, then that could be really something. That 2:30 game on the 17th, which is a Sunday, is against the Nuggets, is really going to be fascinating. Okay, well, let's just close it up early. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. I was going to do another live. I cannot do a live show tonight just because I got to go take care of the baby. We'll do one after the Bulls show, I'm sure. Thank you so much. Everybody be good and go enjoy the rest of your weekend, and go Mavs. Thanks, guys.